Xbox On. Welcome to Xbox On, a podcast with one host about one console, Xbox. I'm said host Jesse DeRosa, and on today's episode, we'll be talking the latest Xbox news for the week of November 28th, 2024, including Black Ops 6 enjoyed the biggest launch month ever for the franchise. Xbox avatars are sorta going away. Tons of listener comments to get through this week, and more. On this week in Xbox history, in the year 2008, 16 years ago, Sonic Unleashed was released for the Xbox 360. My favorite Sonic game of all time. See, that's how you know it's not all nostalgia, because listen, I was born in 1995. I probably played my first Sonic game I probably saw Sonic for the first time. It doesn't really count, like 98 probably when I was like 3 years old. I remember when we lived in North Carolina, our neighbor had like all the video games and shit. Whatever, that doesn't count. My first genuine exposure to Sonic was probably in like where I started playing it and getting into the franchise was probably 2000 or 2001 with Sonic 1, 2, and 3 for Genesis, because I remember my oldest brother had access to all those games, so I was able to get exposed to everything I'd missed in like the late 80s with NES and then into the 90s with Genesis and SNES and all that. So, and then I guess the Sonic games that really started to grab me, of course, were those late 90s, early 2000s, like Sonic Adventure 1 and 2, Sonic Heroes. So I played, thanks to having older siblings and just the time I was born, like I was pretty well versed in Sonic through the 90s, right? My first introduction to the character, very much original games. I remember playing a lot of Sonic 3D Blast, like, games that, like, if you were born in 2000, you probably weren't playing fucking Sonic 3D Blast. So, listen, this is how I know it's not all nostalgia, because I grew up on Sonic Adventure, Sonic Heroes, Sonic 3, Sonic 2, whatever. Best Sonic game of all time? Sonic Unleashed, 2008. Dude, that game, it's so... See, this is the thing is, if you're part of the Sonic fandom, which if you are, God bless you, because those people are genuinely freaks. Like, there's a lot of things I'm a fan of, and the fandoms turn me off, like Disney theme parks. Disney fans are terrible. I hate Disney fans, so I don't like Disney theme park fandom. But, like, that is nothing compared to Sonic fans. Sonic fans, the Venn diagram of Sonic fans and furries, by the way, is just a circle. There's no Venn diagram. There's no overlap. It's just one circle. It's all one and the same. Anyway, now we're on, like, 3 tangents deep, but Sonic fans are the worst. But thankfully, Sonic fans have embraced Sonic Unleashed in recent years. I wouldn't say recent years, really. It's been really around the time the game turned a decade old. I remember around the time the game turned 10 years old, suddenly you started to see it. It was like the people who were like my age, who grew up, who were like between the ages of like 8 and 13 or something like that, around 2008 when this game came out, were like getting older and having more prominent voices online. Now these kids are in their 20s. Ooh, now they got YouTube channels and they got popular Reddit posts and they have some kind of sway in the internet discourse. And you started to see as some of those Sonic Genesis and Sonic Dreamcast and Sonic GameCube fans started to age up a little bit. Some of those like early to mid 2000s Sonic fans were like, yo, what's up? I played Sonic 06 and Sonic Unleashed when I was a kid, and those games are great. And Sonic Unleashed has finally started to get its flowers as a result of its fan base aging up a little bit. Although I'm pretty sure no, we're not going to make that joke. Anyway, so it is good. As far as Sonic fans go, I feel like this game does have a good reputation, and it is widely understood as like, I don't know, like, because the game was commercially successful. I think it sold like over 4 million copies, so it was a success. It was a greatest hits title on Xbox 360. But they call it Player's Choice on 360? Is that what they call it instead of Greatest Hits? Anyway, I don't know. It's weird because to the general public, Sonic Unleashed is kind of cast into this like era of bad Sonic games. People who are familiar with Sonic but not necessarily Sonic fans all relegate this game to like that era of Sonic 06 and Shadow the Hedgehog and Sonic Rider and all those other games that were coming out give or take around those years that were pretty mediocre. But to those of us who really know, we know Sonic Unleashed. It's a freak accident how it happened too, because it shouldn't be good, because I get it. Like, if you're someone who's like, but Sonic 06 sucks, but Shadow the Hedgehog sucks, but hate to break it to you PS2 fans, Sonic Heroes kind of sucks. I know people love Sonic Heroes. I have a little bit of a soft spot for that game as well, but that game objectively sucks. It's not a good game. It's so weird how within like a 3 to 5 year span they're making all these shitty Sonic games, and then they just shit out Sonic Unleashed, and it was great. And then they like kind of went up and down again. But anyway, I guess what I'm really trying to say is I love this game. This game is it's a top 5 Xbox 360 game. When I think of like Xbox 360 games that like defined my youth, I don't know. It's probably got to be in no particular order, like Halo 3, Sonic Unleashed, Left 4 Dead 1, Guitar Hero World Tour, not Guitar Hero 3, I know, how salacious. And then I don't know, those 4 games, and then I don't know what the 5th would be. I don't have to pick a 5th. But those are the ones. Oh, Call of Duty World at War. Oh my God. Original Nazi zombies? Are you fucking kidding me? I know. It's like, Jesse, no Mass Effect? Jesse, no Gears of War 2? Shut up. This is my childhood we're talking about. If we were talking about your childhood, we'd be talking about how you fucking daddy drove you into the middle of the woods and left you with naked and afraid with nothing but a pocket knife and said, time to become a man. Don't come home until you have dinner with you. And you had to fucking hunt a deer. And then you came home and your daddy rewarded you with an Xbox 360 arcade because he said he didn't love you enough for an Elite. And then you had to fucking, play demos for 5 months because daddy said Halo 3 is too expensive, as he opened up another $120 bottle of liquor to deal with the fact that he had you for his son. Ha, gotcha, punk. I don't know what I'm saying, but I just love Sonic Unleashed. The game holds a very soft spot in my heart. I remember when it came out, not being able to get my hands on it because I was a stupid poor kid who didn't have money, and just playing the demo repeatedly. Of course, the demo for this game on Xbox 360, the free demo, is Act 1 of APOTOS. Actually, technically in the real game, it's Act 2, but it's Act 1. Act 1 in the real game is just like training. But, dude, APOTOS Day Level 1, holy shit. The music, that level design, superb. That is like peak 3D Sonic, if you ask me. Just one of the most impeccable levels of all time. We're definitely gonna be playing some Sonic Unleashed music at the end of today's show to celebrate. But anyway, we'll have to move forward. I love this game. I love Chip. I love the smaller cast of characters. I love how it had the adventure style, like big stakes kind of world disaster kind of storyline, without being like, how can we cram all the characters in here for no reason at all. I love the level design. I love the boost gameplay. I think the art styles aged beautifully. Also, just side note, and we'll end it with this. To the folks at Sega Team, you guys nailed it with Sonic Unleashed. Stop trying to reinvent the wheel. And I'm talking about art style. Listen, in Sonic 06, we learned a lesson. Do not put hyper-realistic human beings next to anthropomorphic hedgehogs and other critter creatures. It's fucking creepy. We don't want it. And then, in newer games, they try to do this thing where they're like, oh, there are no humans in the Sonic universe except for Dr. Eggman, but that's it. Don't do that either. Listen, you can have the humans and the critters all together, but you got to do like a Disney Pixar style thing with the art. Sonic Unleashed nailed it. When you go all around the world, you go to fucking Africa, you go to Europe, you go to Asia, and you see all the human characters. They got like fun, dorky looking art styles that match the cartoonish hedgehog with the fucking human eyes and shoes. So I don't understand why they that game's art style was so good. I love like the real world influence with the cartoony Sonic look, instead of like, Sonic games often have that like, what's the point of this art style? Like, why are we just in a random green foresty zone and now we're in a random green industrial zone? But this game felt cohesive in its art style and its setting. I loved that. I feel like no Sonic game has really ever done that aside from this game. Anyway, I love that game. Shout out to Sonic Unleashed. Shout out to the Xbox 360. Guys, welcome to Xbox On. All 2 of you left who were like, oh my God, I thought this was an Xbox podcast. I thought he was going to tell me that the Dodge Ram is the best pickup truck and that Master Chief is his real dad. But instead, he just went on and on about how Sonic made him feel things as a child. What a freak. Oh, well, let's talk about the notable game releases of the week real quick, and then we'll talk about real shit. Penguin's Road comes to Xbox Series S and X. It is a smart delivery title, and it comes out as of the day this podcast goes live. This is a fast and fun third-person action shooter where players are given an arsenal of weapons and tools to defeat enemies and attack from land, sea, and air. You can master the running gun, cover shooting, long aims, close blast, melee, and commanding tanks for victory. There are no like real notable games coming out this week if you can't tell, but I just thought this game looked and sounded so fucking ridiculous, I might as well just throw it in here. This is an $8 no-name indie something or other that's launched on Xbox this week, and I would implore you, if you're like me and you like to just sometimes, when you're on the Xbox dashboard, click on over to the store and just kind of look at the new games that are coming out for the week and just check out some titles and some reviews and some screenshots and trailers. I love to just peruse and do that from time to time. If you're one of those people, give this one a look. I'm not saying buy it. I can't speak to it. I'm probably not going to buy it. Maybe I will. I actually feel a little bit of an impulse to buy it. Maybe. Who knows? But Penguins Road, this game looks fucking weird and ridiculous. It looks like an N64 version of like Star Fox Assault, but with penguins. And I don't know how to feel about it, but it looks ridiculous, and it's an Xbox Play Anywhere title. So why don't you play it in the middle of a fucking firefight? You know, next time you're just in one of those, because that's normal. All right, guys, let's get into let's address the elephant in the room. It's a weird week for Xbox On. Obviously, it's a major holiday week for those of us here in the United States of America, where we have our Thanksgiving on Thursday, the day this podcast goes live, which, by the way, happy Thanksgiving to all of our U.S. listeners. And to our Canadian listeners, how was your Thanksgiving last month? I forgot to ask you. Anyway, so with that said, it's a slow news week. We're kind of in the thick of like the big game release season. Most of the big games have already come out. The news has kind of died down a little bit. We still got Indiana Jones and the Game Awards, but that's a few weeks away. And so it's just kind of one of those dead weeks. But on top of that, I'm recording the podcast on Tuesday night, a night earlier than I normally would, because Wednesday night I have plans. And so what I'm really nervous about is that Wednesday, you know, it's going to be one of those days. All hell's going to break loose. Xbox is actually getting out of video games. Said it wasn't profitable enough. Satya Nadella wants to reshape Xbox as a new fitness brand for men that will compete directly with Lululemon. That's what Xbox is now. And I'm like, fuck. And then on Thursday morning, y'all are going to go to your iPhones and check the latest episode of Xbox On, expecting me to tell you all about how Phil Spencer's now the poster child of Lululemon's major competitor, and I'm just over here telling you about Penguins Road and Sonic Unleashed. And you're like, what the fuck? This is outdated news, Jesse. It's not about video games anymore. So I do have that fear that might happen, but who knows? Fingers crossed nothing big happens for the rest of the week, and my podcast doesn't seem out of date by the time it comes out on Thursday. That's all we can hope for. Jesse, where are you going that you can't record your podcast Wednesday? None of your fucking business. Well, I'll tell you anyway. No, I'm just, listen, there are no opportunities in this world to do anything with your free time. The idea that I'm going to be off on a Thursday because Thanksgiving just made me like, holy shit, I want to treat Wednesday night like a Friday night. I want to go nuts. I just want to be off in the middle of the week. I worked restaurants for so long growing up. I'm so used to the weird scheduling of like, you work Saturday and Sunday, but you're off Monday, and then you work Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're off Thursday. That kind of weird like retail, restaurant, hospitality kind of schedule. I haven't worked that in so long now because I've like the past 5 years I've been at my day job that's very much Monday through Friday. And there's just something really tantalizing, exciting about like, oh my God, we're going to be off on a Thursday. Let's go out on a Wednesday night. So we're going to go see opening night. We got opening night tickets to go see Moana 2 over at Disney Springs. I love the idea of whenever a Disney movie comes out that I actually give a shit about, which is fewer and further between these days. I always like to go and see it. There's something cool about like, oh man, I can go see the new Disney movie at Disney World. So we're going to go see Moana 2. I've said on the podcast before, one of the things that sucks about being a Disney theme park fan is that most people don't understand that like being a Disney theme park fan does not mean I want to fucking dress up as Beast and fuck a girl who pretends she's Belle and like have some weird Disney furry fantasy daddy issue thing going on. It's like I literally don't care about Disney cartoons and shit. It's really just like, no, just like Epcot is kind of an amazing place, and Walt Disney was a very interesting man, and these theme parks are awesome. So they're two very different things, but I am a product of American. I am a product of the American culture, the American whatever the fuck I'm trying to say. And so of course there was everyone likes a couple Disney movies here or there. I love Moana. Moana for some reason, I don't know why. Of all like the heroine princess sing-along Disney movies. For some reason, like Moana really, I remember not reluctantly, but like seeing it out of pure obligation in 2016 when it came out with same girlfriend. Holy shit, it's been like a decade. I remember we went to go see that movie when we were in college, and I was like, whatever, it's a new Disney movie, it'll be fine. And then being like, damn, this is fucking awesome. And like for like 3 weeks, I was one of those Hamilton kids, like walking around with the Moana soundtrack, like Lin-Manuel Miranda Manuel, and just being like, yeah, well, you're welcome, kid. I'm Dwayne The Rock Johnson. People think I should be president for no fucking reason. And that was awesome, and I just like that movie, so hoping the second one's going to be good. We'll see. We'll find out. Who cares? Anyway, why are we still talking? Oh, yeah. Penguins Road. A great game for kids and families alike. No corrections or updates. Anyway, so what I was trying to say before we got really derailed and started talking about Disney Springs and Moana 2, there's really no news this week. So we don't have like small news. We don't have big news. So what I just compiled are just a handful of mildly amusing stories. So we'll go through those. There's like 3 or 4 of them. We'll just kind of work our way through these, have our conversation. And then thankfully you guys wrote in. You guys really showed up this past week and gave us lots to dig through in terms of comments. So we'll go through listener comments. But it is what it is. There's always a couple of these every year, usually around New Year's or Thanksgiving or Christmas or something like that. So nothing to worry about too much here. I'm sure we'll have, we're about to have tons to talk about when the Game Awards takes place. That's not next week, but the week after, 2 weeks from now. Yeah, I think we're going to have to probably delay the show, right? Because the Game Awards is always on a Thursday. So we'll probably have to delay the show. We'll probably go live Friday or Saturday. But obviously, we got tons and tons to talk about when that rolls around in a few weeks. So don't worry your pretty little face. Xbox news will be abundant. It will be here imminently. But before we get to that, guys, talk about some small news stories in the world of Xbox. Activision says that Black Ops 6 is the biggest Call of Duty ever in terms of player engagement during its first month on the market. That's according to Activision, who claimed earlier this week that the game has attracted more players during its launch month than any other title in the series. It also ranks first for total number of hours played at the most matches played, said the publisher. The latest entry in Activision's shooter series was released on October 25th, 2024 for Xbox Series consoles, Xbox One, PS5 and 4, and PC. Notably, it was the first Call of Duty to ever be available on day one Game Pass. Game Pass the day it launched. Matt Piscatella, the executive director of video games and research firm at Sorta, said in mid-November that Black Ops 6's Game Pass release had an unprecedented impact on player engagement. He said, quote, Call of Duty's engagement following the release of Black Ops 6 can only be defined in the term of bonkers, he wrote on Blue Sky. We've yet to see anything like it in our engagement tracking data. And last week he said, Call of Duty Black Ops 6 to Game Pass did a few things in the US. I really wish we knew more about that. What does that mean? We've yet to see anything like it in our engagement tracker. How so? All right. Last week he said Call of Duty Black Ops 6 on Game Pass did a few things for the US. Here we go. It resulted in a subscription spending boost, shifted share of full game sales to PlayStation, did not appear to result in a massive cannibalization of sales, and did not appear to provide a significant boost to Xbox hardware sales. So, all the open questions regarding the impact of subscriptions are still pretty open, in my opinion. And whatever one believes currently, well, we're not sure it's the biggest of tests in changing everyone's mind either way yet. So here's the thing is, everyone was saying Black Ops 6, myself included, Black Ops 6 will be the make it or break it moment for Game Pass. This defines whether or not Game Pass will continue to be viable, whether or not it's justifiable, whether or not it's something that can be grown. Lo and behold, let's just say everything Circana is saying here is correct. Basically, they go, it's inconclusive. We don't really know how Game Pass is affecting this game really all that much. They're saying Game Pass didn't cannibalize enough sales of the game on Xbox to go out and say that putting games on Xbox or on Game Pass is destroying sales on the console. It also didn't impede sales enough on PlayStation to say that putting games day one on Game Pass that are also PlayStation games does not disproportionately or disadvantage the PlayStation ecosystem in any way, because people still bought overwhelmingly large numbers of quantities of this game on the PlayStation platform. It also says that It also says that spending on subscriptions is way up, which you would expect. It means a lot more people subscribed or resubscribed to Game Pass because of Call of Duty Black Ops 6. And then lastly, it says this didn't really have a material effect on hardware sales. So this is like, I mean, this is like the most, this has got to be like the most disappointing news for Xbox in a way, right? It's like, hey, Game Pass won't help sell your consoles. But the good news is your games will still sell well on PlayStation, so keep releasing them there. And I mean, would I say Xbox? This has got to be the most disappointing news for Xbox fans. So it basically says, hey, your subscription service is good, keep that up. Hey, your console business is dead, so give up on that. And hey, don't stop releasing your games on PlayStation because there's plenty of money to be made there, even if it's viewed as quote unquote free on your platform. And so, I mean, this is it, right? This is the game that's going to telegraph to Microsoft that, like, hey, we need to keep putting games on PlayStation. We need to stop caring so much about our hardware, and we need to keep releasing games like this on Game Pass so they're going to grow and grow and grow the service, because that seems to be what Black Ops 6 did. Although the silver lining in all of this is it says it doesn't seem to have cannibalized sales of the game all that much or in a noticeable way. So I wonder if that applies to Xbox as well, where they're saying, hey, the way this game would have sold on Xbox, it's still sold more or less that same way, indicating that maybe still there is a lot of players on Xbox that purchase games full price. I'm trying to think because, you know, if Xbox, between Xbox One and Xbox Series, and then you try and talk about active numbers of players, you know, let's say there's 50 to 60 million people on Xbox as a platform between all the Xbox One and Series generation consoles. And then you think that, what would we say, like 20, 24, 25 million are subscribed to Game Pass. So let's say 50 to 60% of Xbox players are subscribed to Game Pass. The remaining 40%, are they all buying Call of Duty? Is that what we're to believe here? I mean, obviously Call of Duty is one of the highest attachment rates of any game on any platform. You know, it's like what, Call of Duty and Grand Theft Auto, like these are the games that have those kinds of attach rates. But yeah, I'm not really sure what to make of this, because it just seems like, I don't know, it just seems like it seems like this isn't really moving the needle too much in any big way for Xbox. It sounds like Call of Duty is doing great, and Call of Duty can be on Game Pass and can be a boon to, yeah, maybe that's the way to put it. It seems like the takeaway is that Call of Duty can be a benefit to Game Pass, and it can boost Game Pass as a service, but Game Pass will not hinder Call of Duty from performing the way it needs to perform and selling the way it needs to sell in order to justify its exorbitant development costs that it definitely incurs each and every year by being such a massively huge game that it gets worked on across many, many studios. So it almost seems like that's kind of the takeaway, which is great news for Game Pass, great news for Microsoft, great news for PlayStation players, bad news for people who are traditional Xbox fans and just want the console and the games and the exclusives and all that old school stuff, because this is telling Xbox more than anything to just get away from that model. We don't need that model. This is not how things are going to have to play out for us going forward. So I don't know. Cool to see engagement's up. Cool to see that people with Game Pass are aspiring to have Call of Duty there. No doubt that was kind of an obvious thing you could see. I'm definitely one of those people who is subscribed to Game Pass and played Call of Duty through Game Pass. But yeah, this just doesn't bode well for Xbox hardware. It definitely bodes well for Call of Duty being able to sustain itself as its, you know, a la carte style game on every platform except on Xbox, where you can just subscribe, and it's good for Game Pass. So that's it's all good stuff if you want to look at it that way. That's the silver lining of it all. I think overall it is meant to be seen as positive news or good news. Again, it's just I come at everything with this perspective of like, save the console, save the traditional box. I want that home console to remain a thing the way it always has. But anyway, we'll come back to Call of Duty no, we won't actually. We only got two more. So let's talk about Final Fantasy. Speaking of good news for games coming to Xbox, the director of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth said he wants to see the remake trilogy appear on more platforms, while stating at the same time and praising at the Xbox platform. Naoki Hamaguchi, who is the co-director of Final Fantasy VII Remake and the director of Rebirth, was recently asked by Games Radar how he felt about the game being released on other platforms, to which he said that there were no announcements to make yet, and he wanted the remake games to appear on more systems. He says, quote, "In terms of Final Fantasy VII, there's nothing really we can say at the moment, but certainly I want to bring Final Fantasy VII Remake series to as many people as possible. So we want to create the situation, the environment where more players can play the game in the future, and we want to look at in that direction. Hamaguchi also said that while it used to be possible to release a game on a single platform and have players buy a system to play it, that's less and less the case these days. Explaining that while in the past publishers could just put out a game on one place and get the most players coming to that game to play it on that one platform, he said it's so much more diversified now. So I think that's probably why our CEO, Mr. Kuryu, made a decision to move more in the direction of multi-platform. That's just the way the industry is going. Although he didn't specify or specifically mention Xbox when he said he wanted to see Final Fantasy VII Remake on other platforms, Hamaguchi then asked for his opinion, when asked on his opinion on Square Enix's multi-platform strategy, praised the Xbox platform, where he says, "This is just a personal opinion now, but I have an Xbox myself. I think it's a great hardware platform. I do like Xbox." Last month, Final Fantasy producer Naoki Yoshida said that he'd like to see Final Fantasy 16 released on Xbox platforms. So I think this is all but confirmed. I think we're going to see Final Fantasy start to migrate over to Xbox, whether it's the Final Fantasy VII trilogy, the remakes, the new ones, or Final Fantasy 16, which was a PlayStation exclusive last year. I think we're going to start to see these games mosey on over, get up off the lazy boy and mosey on over to Xbox, where the getting's good. So that's really promising and exciting stuff. What I want to, I don't want to linger too much on that, because I think that's pretty obvious, and it's been obvious for a while now, as we're starting to see these interviews and these news blurbs kind of trickle their way into the Xbox news cycle. So that is exciting, and it means, hey, it paid off. My discipline of saying, no, fuck you, I'm not going to play Final Fantasy VII Remake until it's on Xbox, even though I could just play it on my PC. It looks like it paid off. The patience paid off, and it wasn't that hard to wait, because I don't want to commit to a big Japanese role-playing game anyway. But good to see that. The thing I want to focus on here that actually kind of is wait, what? Is him going on and talking about how back in the day, you used to be able to release a game on one platform, and people felt the need to go and purchase that platform so they could experience that title. But nowadays, the way it works is it's you release the game, and people will play it on the platforms it's available on, but people aren't going to flock to a platform and purchase that platform just to play that game. Well, I think it's pretty obvious. It's because you think about Final Fantasy X, Final Fantasy X or 12 or something like that was exclusive on PS2. Maybe someone would drop everything and buy a PS2 to play Final Fantasy, but that's because when that consumer was weighing the options of an Xbox versus a PlayStation versus a Nintendo GameCube, they were really only weighing the option of what games are on what platform and what games do I want to play the most. And so these platforms, these boxes, were just really a means to play video games and nothing more. But when you think about what video game consoles have become over the past couple of generations, it's it's a whole ecosystem. It's a place to exist. And so, if they're how do I want to put this? It's let's say that memes are exclusive, right? It's let's say there is a meme on Blue Sky or Threads. Well, if you're on Twitter, and Twitter is where you have your following and people, that's where you care about, and that's where you're investing, that's your ecosystem, doesn't matter. You're not going to engage in that meme that's on Blue Sky, because that's not where you are. You're on Twitter. Maybe that's a bad analogy, but it's just to kind of say that people get dug in and settled into these ecosystems where they exist, and then they don't really leave them. They don't really move. Notice how, I don't know, continuing on the Twitter thing, it's no matter how much you see in the news, it's people hate Twitter now. Elon Musk ruined Twitter. He changed it to this. The algorithms works in this way. Now they charge for this. But the people who are bitching about it are the same people who won't fucking leave the platform. It's because people are set in their ways, and they get dug in, and they build their portfolio and their ecosystem, their community, and whatever, everything. And so you think about it like this, it's listen, one of the big reasons I bought, I was kind of having this video game agnostic thing where I didn't really know where I wanted to go in the transition from Xbox 360 to Xbox One, where there was a while where I considered buying a PS4 and not an Xbox One. And ultimately, I went with Xbox One because Titanfall looked really good. I'm a huge Halo fan. I knew I'd have to get an Xbox eventually at any point because of my love of Halo and everything. I prefer the controller, whatever. But one of the big determining factors in why I stuck with Xbox was because it was my achievements, all the games I bought, all the, the history and everything I built into my Xbox account. I want that stuff to carry on with me. I want that profile and that legacy and all those achievements and all that record and everything to follow forward with me. And that was such a nascent little quaint example of something that would go on to become an even bigger deal in that upcoming generation, because during the Xbox One generation, that's when I switched from buying physical games to going all digital. And so now, not only did I have my my Left 4 Dead achievements and all that stuff, my avatar skins and all my records and playtime and my gamer tag and the little thing that says I've been an Xbox Live subscriber for 10 years and all that. Not only that stuff, but the fact that it's like in the Xbox One generation was like, yeah, and here are all the video games I purchased that are on my Xbox account because this is the platform where I played. Here's my friends list. Here's everything I did. Here's all the microtransactions and cosmetics and skins and DLCs and battle passes and whatnot. It's all tied to this platform, except for like Fortnite or whatever, where it's tied to your Fortnite account. But you get the idea, and it's like, yeah, nowadays it's like you can make a game that looks cool, and people are going to go, wow, that game looks sick. What's it on? And if it's not on the place where people already are, they'll say, okay, well, I won't play it, And I think that's kind of what Xbox, it's interesting because I think Mr. Hamaguchi is talking about actually kind of explains something that we see, a phenomenon going on in the Xbox ecosystem, where Xbox, it took them so long to get to the point where it's like they have awesome first-party exclusives that are like making waves, and getting discussion and buzz. But they finally got there too little too late, and now what we're realizing is it doesn't matter if like an Avowed or a Hellblade or Sunset Overdrive or not Sunset Overdrive, I'm trying to say Hi-Fi Rush or whatever the hell, right? It doesn't matter, a Halo Infinite, a Forza Horizon 5, doesn't matter if these games are good. It's just that, it's like people are kind of dug in and settled down, and they have their libraries and they have their friends list and they have everything on PlayStation. So if Xbox puts out a game that people are like, hey, have you checked out this game on Xbox? It's pretty fucking good. People are going to go, oh, that's cool. Yeah, but I'm kind of on PlayStation, so I'll just play God of War instead, and that will be my cool game, And so that's the problem with the water cooler, kind of moments with gaming, is if it's not some multi-platform like Baldur's Gate or Elden Ring, you run the risk of just getting ignored because you just weren't in the right place. And so it's less of like the consumer will find the good stuff where it's at, and more of like the developer and the publisher needs to meet the consumer where they're at. And that kind of plays into the whole Xbox putting their games on PlayStation. It's like, doesn't matter how many good games we put on PlayStation, how many good benefits and features the Xbox ecosystem has. If you want to get people to play Sea of Thieves, if you want to get people to play Avowed, if you want to get people to play Indiana Jones, you got to put the fucking game on PlayStation, because these motherfuckers are stingy and they're stubborn and they won't go. Just like how I refused to buy a PS5 to play Spider-Man, they refused to buy an Xbox to play Perfect Dark and Fable. And it's just kind of the way it is. It's a shift in the market and the consumer behavior. And I think it's only going to get worse and worse as things go on, because we're seeing, especially they keep saying, like researchers and analysts keep saying, they're like with Gen Z and with these newer generations, these younger generations, what we're observing is people aren't loyal to like Xbox or PlayStation or Steam or whatever. They're just kind of like, they view gaming as kind of like another social platform. Like we are coming into a generation of people who look at Xbox as like a place to play Fortnite, or iPhone as a place to play Fortnite. It's not like Xbox versus PlayStation because I grew up with this game and that game was badass. It's like we don't have that anymore for a lot of these younger, newer kids. It's a lot of like, yeah, whatever, I had this platform. And it's a lot easier when the games you exist and play on, like Genshin Impact or Fortnite or Apex Legends, that progress goes with you, whether you're playing on mobile or PC or console, wherever you go. That progress and that account and those battle passes and those skins and all those things follow you around wherever you go. So people are becoming more and more loyal to the game. Like Grand Theft Auto is the game. It's not really about Xbox or PlayStation. It's Grand Theft Auto, And people are becoming more and more loyal to that as opposed to the platform. And it's really interesting, because it's like kind of this passing comment he made to just to reason with and justify their expansion to other platforms for Final Fantasy. But it really does speak to what we're seeing with Xbox and a lot of places in the market, where it's like you just got to find where the consumer is at and meet them there. I mean, that's why Xbox wants to get into game streaming and mobile and Game Pass and all this stuff so badly, because they know damn well it doesn't fucking matter how good the game is. China doesn't give a shit about Xbox, okay? You're not going to sell Xbox in China. Korea doesn't give a shit about Xbox. Those people want to play games on their phones and their PCs, so you got to meet them in those places. If you ever have, want a prayer of a chance of getting a sizable Korean market to lay eyes on Fable, or South of Midnight. So that's what it's all about. It's about finding out where the consumer's at, meeting them there, and then lying about your age, lying about your name, trying to pick them up, and then ending up on one of those To Catch a Predator kind of videos, because you don't want to lie. You don't want to lie to the consumer. You want to be honest to the consumer. Otherwise, it's a whole mess of problems. It's a bad show, honestly, to be frank. All right, there's only one more to get into. Speaking of things that are sad, young children sad, Xbox avatars kind of going away, kind of dying. Let's get into it. Microsoft has announced plans to shut down the Xbox Avatar Editor app starting on January 9th. So yeah, in like 2 months, not even. It will no longer be available on Xbox One or Series consoles as well as Windows devices. In an FAQ that Microsoft posted, Microsoft said that they are closing the app due to low engagement. They say, quote, "This means that players will no longer be able to access the Xbox Avatar Editor app on Xbox consoles or PCs, including their Xbox Avatar and their purchased Avatar items. This will not affect the Xbox original avatars, as these will continue to work in supported Xbox 360 games, and you will still be able to edit your original Xbox 360 avatars in the Xbox Original Avatars app on Xbox consoles and Windows devices. Xbox Avatar purchases made between November 1st, 2023 and January 9th, 2025 will be refunded once the app is closed." Why are people... Oh, wait, that's the day it closes. Okay, I got you. I cannot feign any kind of sense of sadness or sorrow for this. Listen, when they brought that new version of Xbox avatars over in the Xbox during the Xbox One generation, it felt so half-assed. Like they didn't give it a proper rollout. They didn't really integrate it into the console functionality. They kind of tucked it away in menus. It was kind of there for people that wanted it, and for people who didn't care, it was easy to ignore. And then also, it's like they compounded the issue by being like, you can still keep your Xbox 360 avatar, but we recommend you upgrade to the new avatar experience. And I remember I did that for like the first month. I was like, oh, cool, the new avatar experience. I was like, I hate this. And then I went back to my Xbox 360 avatar, and I never went back. I mean, the fucking thumbnail of this podcast is still my Xbox 360 avatar from all those years ago that looks absolutely nothing like me. So it's just, I don't know, man. It's like... First of all, the avatars are a thing from a different place and time. There's no need for them anymore, honestly. And while I really appreciate that they stuck around in a way that you can still engage with them, I think they're mostly just there because there are some Xbox 360 games that require them. And so it's like this permanent functionality that's like this kind of legacy feature that's just kind of permanently baked into the Xbox experience there, deep tucked in the background for those who need it. I guess that's why that still exists, but I'm glad that if only one iteration can live on, it is the original version, because that version is the correct one. I just prefer the art style, if I'm just being honest. I just think that it looked better. Also, it was just from a time where the Avatar idea was much more creative and nascent, and there was just more passion, heart put into it, even if it was just a blatant ripoff of the fact that Nintendo Wii had Miis. But hey, at least avatars were used to better effect, because who the fuck was playing Wii with anyone outside their household? Anyway... I don't know. I can't pretend to care about this. I haven't used the new Xbox Avatar because I think they look terrible, and I prefer the old one, and the old one's sticking around, which is awesome to see. And they're doing the right thing. They're going to refund people who made purchases in the past year or so. So no one's out. No one feels bad. No one feels burned. I don't think really anyone cares. And again, they cite low user engagement, and I fucking believe it because, dude, if you go back to like Xbox in like 2009, everyone's gamer picture was their avatar. You play Xbox today, everyone's picture is like fucking Naruto jerking off the Cheeto chest or the cheetah tiger thing now. Like no one fucking cares about avatars. No one's doing the avatar thing anymore. So I don't know. It's fine. Just lop it off. Take out those deadweight features. Make the UI a little snappier, a little cleaner, a little easier to navigate. Get rid of the things we don't need and keeping the things we do need. I'm all for it, and I got no love. We don't even need to do a Viking funeral, honestly. The Xbox One era avatars are just so ugly to me that we can just watch them die in the streets and not bat an eye and not be phased at all, and then just turn around and say, I'm hungry for Steak and Shake, because that's how much I don't care about the Xbox avatar dying behind me. And we'll just continue to go on about our way, probably get to Steak and Shake, order a Royale burger with the Parmesan, with the garlic Parmesan fries seasoning, of course, on the French fries. You could get the Wisconsin Butterburger. Those are also pretty excellent. And then, I don't know. How do you want to go with the shake? Do you want to get the cotton candy shake? Do you want to get the M&M shake? Snickers sounds good, honestly. Whatever. They always do a seasonal one, so I'm sure they got something eggnog related for the Christmas season upon us. Probably an apple pie milkshake, something like that. Steak and Shake doesn't get enough credit for what it is. It's pretty good shit. Anyway, but that's really it for all the Xbox news we have this week, you guys. So wrap it up there, earnestly, honestly. That's all there is. But we're going to draw the podcast out for at least another 20, 30 minutes because I want to tell you about the games I've been playing this week, including Stalker 2. I want to tell you about what I've been eating this week, but I also want to get into these listener comments. Not user. I don't use you guys. User comments? No, they're listener comments. But first, let's start with what I've been playing. But before I can tell you about what I've been playing, let me tell you about what I've been eating. Because, guys, the Taco Bell Decades menu, now this has been out for a couple weeks now. I have intentionally avoided talking about it. So Taco Bell is doing this new menu called the Decades menu, where, the brand started in the 60s. So they have an item that is no longer on the menu from the 60s, one from the 70s, 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And they put them all on the menu and said, hey, this is a new menu for a limited time only that celebrates items of Taco Bell's past that you probably don't remember or are super nostalgic for or something like that based on your age. And first of all, the funny thing about this menu is you look at it and you're like, oh my God, it's just beautiful representation of just how egregious Americans have become with our diets and our expectations of what food is. Because you look at like the Taco Bell menu from like 1970 and it's like, oh yeah, it's the chili burrito. It's like a little tortilla and it's got beans, rice, cheese, and a little green chili sauce. And it's like, okay, that's like a fast food version of like Mexican food. And it's like, oh, look at the 70s. It's a little tostado and you put some refried beans and some cheese and a little sauce on it or something like that. It's like, okay, it's like cute, like basic Mexican ingredients thrown into some fast food, quick to serve up kind of thing. But as the decades progress, the food gets more and more ridiculous. It's like, all right, it's Chester Cheater. It's Chester Cheater. It's Chester from Lincoln Park, and it's got Pop Rocks in it, and it's got finger bangers, and it's got potatoes, and it's got Cheez-Its. And it even has the orange Starburst because no one likes the orange Starburst. So we got to put it somewhere. So we put it in Taco Bell. It's got 4 types of cheese, 4 types of sour cream, 4 types of spicy queso. And it's like, holy shit, what the fuck is this? And you just watch the food. The portion sizes go up. The number of ingredients goes up. And it just turns into slop. It's like, it starts off as like chicken and beans and rice wrapped in a flour tortilla. It's like, and people in Mexico are like, oh, that kind of looks reminiscent of the food we eat. And then you get to like, you fast forward from 1970 all the way to 2010. And it's like, fucking, it's cancer and it glows green colors. And if you put it under a lamp, it's purple. But when you eat it in the daylight, it's brown. It's just fucking weird, and it's got 47 ingredients in it, and people from Mexico look at it and they go, I don't know what the fuck that is. It scares me, please. And then they just start saying some kind of prayer to Mary because they're all Catholics, because Mexico and Catholics, and people love getting colonized and then adopting the religion of their colonizers. It's just how it works. Hey, there's my racist comment of the month. Anyway, I went in there and tried it. I looked at it and I was like, the item from the 1960s looks like ass. The item from the 1970s looks like ass. Anyway, I tried the item from the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. So the 80s item is what is it? It's the Mexi Melt, which for some reason, speaking of racism, that sounds racist. There's something weird about saying Mexi Melt. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I grew up in a very white household, but there's something about saying Mexi Melt that just sounds like a slur. But this is a really simple item. It's just like a little soft taco shell. With like chicken, cheese, and like pico de gallo, and it's fine. It's nice. The pico de gallo is a nice like fresh contrast to the meaty, cheesy, savory, fattiness that's otherwise present on that carby, cheesy little roll. And it's fine. It's basic. It's nothing to write home about. It's nothing crazy, but it's fine. Like I tried it once. I was like, that's interesting. Now I can tell people I know what the Mexi Melt is. But then I tried the item from the 90s. I'm like, this is good shit. It's like a chalupa shell, but then it's just a soft taco supreme inside. So nothing crazy. It's just beef, sour cream, cheese, lettuce, tomato, whatever. But it's like the soft, almost pita bread like chalupa shell. That's fucking amazing. It's like, oh my God, we don't even need soft taco shells. Just use these instead, permanently on everything. And those are so good. I've gone back and had them twice now. They're so fucking good. I like those a lot. I forget what they call them, like double chalupa supreme. I don't know what the fuck they call them. But then you get to the item from the 2000s, and this is the item on the menu that's nostalgic for me. They brought back the caramel empanada. Holy fuck. It's a caramel apple empanada. So if you're familiar with the apple pie at McDonald's, yeah, as my girlfriend put it, that's just Taco Bell's version of the caramel apple pie or the apple pie from McDonald's. Yes, but also no, because instead of a shitty little hand pie like they give you at McDonald's, it's an empanada, and it has a proper empanada looking and feeling shell to it. And then the inside, yes, it's cinnamony apples, but it's also in a caramelized sauce. And these things are so fucking good. These things were amazing when I was in high school and used to eat them on a weekly basis. And these things are amazing now that I'm almost 30 years old. And I this is the Taco Bell item that I feel like everyone's constantly saying. Remember when they had those empanadas? And I gotta ask, like, why the fuck would they have ever gotten rid of these things? Because the cinnamon twists suck. I love Taco Bell, but cinnamon twists are ass. You can take those off the menu. They're no good. Nobody likes them. We don't need them. They're very stupid. They're very dumb. And then they have those Cinnabon Delight things. Those things are disgusting. They just taste like balls of oil. I hate them, and I wish they would die. So you got dumb desserts now on the menu, and then your biggest competitor, Del Taco, is out there with those amazing caramel cheesecake bites, and those things are so good to eat in your tummy. So why would Taco Bell not have a major competitor by having the caramel apple empanada like they once did? So they have that back. Oh my God. It makes me so sad that this thing is for a limited time, because I tried one of them. I was so tempted to order two of them when I went, but I only got one. And I said, girlfriend, would you like to try this? This is very good. And she's crazy. She's actually from the planet Mars, and they don't eat caramel over there. So she's like, no, I won't eat it. And listen, I could deal with it if she was a girl that calls caramel. I don't care. I can deal with that. But a woman who doesn't even acknowledge or appreciate the existence of caramel, that's a problem. But anyway, it's so good. It's just as good as I remember. It tastes just the same. Super crispy and delicious on the outside. It's got that fucking yummy ass gloppy little cinnamon apple pie filling, but it's all caramelly, so it's sweet and delicious and amazing. And it still burns the fuck out of your mouth when you bite into it, which is amazing. You know, that's part of the experience. It's so good you want to tear into it, but also it's a punishment tool for gluttons by saying, eat it too fast and I'll burn your fucking tongue, you piece of shit. And so I appreciate the ebb and the flow, the balance, the yin and the yang of a Fat Boy versus caramel apple empanada. And so welcome back indeed. Overall, Decades menu, I think this is a very, very fun menu idea. I like this a lot. It actually very much surprises me in a culture that is so nostalgia driven. How the fuck have we not had more fast food restaurants do these? Where it's like, oh yeah, we have here's a Decades menu for Wendy's. It's a shitty fucking burger that no one cares about because Wendy's sucks. And then for the 2000s, we have another shitty fucking burger no one cares about because Wendy's sucks. And then for the 80s, we have a shitty fucking burger that no one cares about because Wendy's sucks. And then McDonald's could have one. They could be like, oh, here's the dude, remember McDonald's used to have that mushroom Swiss burger in like the 2010s? That thing was so good. The chicken ranch wraps. Everyone misses the ranch wraps. McDonald's could do these all day. High C fruit punch. I think the stores finally got rid of that on the tap. McDonald's has endless items they could pull from the past and bring back, and people would be so happy. So I don't know. I just feel like this is such a no-brainer idea. But shout out to Taco Bell for being the ones to do it. I love it. Caramel empanada, you are my baby. And that's it for what I've been eating. Now, for what I've been playing, I'm not as enthusiastic about this because video games are dumb. Taco Bell is fun. But I have been playing, you guessed it, lots of Black Ops 6 in my free time, which is to say not very much Black Ops 6 because I haven't had a lot of free time. But I am slowly grinding away at it. I cannot believe I have not prestiged yet. I did get the battle pass because I just had enough COD points laying around, and I've only knocked out 2 pages of the battle pass, so that just goes to show you I'm really not getting a lot of time in, but I've mostly been dabbling in zombies. I really, 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 really appreciate this new thing they're doing for zombies this year, where there are these 2 features that are making the experience for me. One is that you can now save in zombies, and I love the way they handle it. It is a one-time save option, so if you're in a zombies match and you're on like round 15 and you're like, fuck, I gotta go take out the trash and then I have to go mow my child and take my trash to school. And you got to be an adult. You can press pause in zombies and you can save, and it goes, okay, this is a one-time save. When you load this save, the file will delete itself, and then you cannot reload this save. And that way it keeps the challenge going. You can't just cheese it and keep reloading your last save. And so I love that. So you can go out and you can go grocery shopping or whatever the fuck it is you got to do. And then you can come back later that day or the next day and resume your save file, which is awesome. So I love that they have that feature. The other thing I love is they have this new mode called guided mode, which is for people like me who don't play zombies with people, but want to experience the quest line in the story mode, which basically has like arrows and direct pointers and stuff on the screen. They're like, hey, objective update, go here, do this thing, interact with this item, pick up this item, talk to this guy, put this here, go inspect this. And it guides you through the Easter egg quest, because every zombies map has a quest that ends in a boss battle and has a cutscene. And for once, I'm able to actually fucking do these because it has a guided mode that walks you through the puzzle and also caps the level. So it's like, if you've only made it this far into the Easter egg, wave 3 will just repeat itself. So once you beat the wave, it will just be wave 3 again. And then you beat it, it'll be wave 3 again. But once you get to this step in the Easter egg, then they'll cap the wave cap can go up. So now the cap is waves 5 or wave 7. So that way it's like, even if you're killing zombies to farm points and upgrade your guns and buy new things, the wave isn't necessarily going up and increasing the difficulty, because it could be very hard to do that single player all by yourself. And so it helps make it a very balanced, still very challenging, but still very balanced and doable experience for solo players like myself who want to actually experience the Easter egg quests and beat the zombies map. So I really love that they've included that, because that is, between that and then just grinding for camos on my guns, that is basically my Black Ops 6 experience like right now. I'm just really loving that. Also, these Season 1 multiplayer maps are much better than some of these base maps. I love that new heirloom map that takes place in that art gallery. Such a good small map. I love that shit. But anyway, Black Ops 6, just playing in the background, very good game. I'm very much enjoying it. It's not my favorite Black Ops game. I wish I loved it more than I do, but I do love it a lot, and I am enjoying it quite a good amount. So there's that. The other game I've been playing this week, I feel like we have to talk about it because it is the hottest thing happening in Xbox right now, but I don't have too much to say, and that is I have started up Stalker 2. So I got Stalker, that collection that came out at the beginning of the year, and a couple times trying to play it, realized this game is, I can't, it's just obtuse. As someone who didn't grow up playing these and doesn't have the inclination for them, it just feels very obtuse. So I said, I have a feeling if I put these games aside, and then when Stalker 2 comes out, I play that and I fall in love with it, then I'll probably have this desire to go back and play the old ones, and then I'll be able to appreciate and understand them better. So that was my thought process. So on Sunday night, I started playing Stalker 2 and quickly realized everything, it kind of affirmed everything I feared about this game. First of all, yes, it is definitely a game that will help you understand, appreciate the previous games, because it really is a proper evolution of what the first games felt like. And I say that as someone who has played an hour of the new game and 20 minutes 3 times of the first game. So take that with a grain of salt, because it's a very small grain of salt, because I don't know what I'm talking about. But it does feel like a very matured next generation, boundary pushed forward kind of version of what those original Stalker games were, where it's a little ambiguous, it's a little open from the get, and it's like these open-ended areas, lots of stealth, lots of resource management, kind of difficult, but also this like survivalist kind of thing. And the game starts out really good. It's pretty guided for like the first 20-30 minutes, and it's very atmospheric, it's very tonal, it gets you immediately grabbed by kind of what's going on. It's one of those, what is this? What's happening here? Oh my God, who are we? Why are we here? Kind of things. And then very immediately you're kind of grabbed and you're invested. But then once you get past that opening 30 minutes, the game kind of opens up a little bit, and then it immediately feels just like the original Stalker games, where it's like, okay, I'm just getting this kind of open area, and I got this gun with like 3 bullets in it, and there's like 5 enemies, and the aiming is super finicky and shitty on Xbox. It's really hard to fucking aim, and oh my god, I'm dead, and why is this so hard? I'm on the easiest difficulty, and it's kind of like that immediately. Now, I know a lot of people are saying this game is very janky, there's a lot of performance issues. The only thing I'm really noticing that's setting me back in my 1 hour I've put into this game, and let me mind you, I'm probably 40 minutes into the game, but I've played it for 1 hour because I died a bunch. So very, very early, have nothing really to say to this game, but oh my god, aiming and shooting and playing this game, maybe it's just because I'm coming off Black Ops 6, which is unfair because Call of Duty is like the best feeling shooter, but oh my god, playing this game is so difficult because aiming just feels like shit. It's that weird Euro janky thing where it's just like, you guys are so good at making PC games, but you cannot fine-tune these things for console to save your life because clearly you guys do not play these kinds of games on console at all. So it's just very difficult to get used to and get a good grip of. And it sucks because I was like, I kind of want to play this on my Logitech G Cloud. I feel like this would be a fun game to stream, but quickly realized if I can't even do this on a proper gamepad in front of a TV, there's no way I'm doing this on a handheld device. So that's just out of the question for now. But this is a game I'm going to kind of nurture. I'm going to play a little bit of it here, a little bit of it there. I'm going to be completely honest. I don't see myself playing this game to completion right now. If I do ever beat this game, this is a game I will come back to when the timing is right. Right now, the timing is not right because I'm very much invested in COD. I'm very much looking forward to Indiana Jones in a few weeks, and I'm very much looking forward to Batman Arkham Origins, which is my holiday game I'm looking forward to playing. And then after that, Spider-Man, and I gotta get back to Marvel Midnight Sun. So there's a lot of games already on my plate. So I very much anticipate this is a game that will fall off after a couple hours of dabbling. But I want to continue to dabble for now because there's just something about the Stalker series where it just feels like one of those, like, it feels like if you are someone who wants to be educated and you want to appreciate games better, this is one of those series you have to be versed in. I don't know why that is, but it does come across to me that way. These games just have that air of like, these are like thinking gamers kinds of games for some reason. And I very desperately want to appreciate and have an understanding and a read on this series. So I'm very dedicated to continuing to give it more and more of a try. From, if not from a perspective of like, I think I'll love this game, at least from a perspective of, I think I'll appreciate and admire what this game is and what it tries to do and how it's unique and different. And for that reason, I really want to continue to play it. But I will say, in my very brief hour with the game, it was very much like this is cool, this is atmospheric, this is moody, this is so good, to like, holy shit, these deaths are cheap. Holy fuck, aiming is so hard. Holy fuck, I hate this game. Why am I playing this on console? Fuck this game. So it's very much like that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I always view these games like adjacent to the Metro games, and I really liked the first 2 Metro games. I beat them and loved them, no problem. Now, Metro 3, or also known as Metro Exodus, I wasn't able to get into, and I wonder if that's because it's more open-ended and open world, and I feel like maybe that's Stalker's problem, or my problem with Stalker, rather, is that it's just this more open-ended, less linear shit is kind of what immediately turns me off. But I know there's some charm and magic to that because, there's a reason why people love this series so much, and I'm determined to try and understand that a little better. So kind of dabbling in Stalker 2. I should have more to talk about with this game next week, but I just want to put it out there. I know it's kind of the big thing happening in Xbox right now, and I'd be remiss not to mention it to some extent. So Stalker 2, I acknowledge you. I see you. Let me get a little more time with you. Hang on a second. All right. But that's it for what I've been playing this week. You guys, take a quick break here, and then we'll just jump into some why I keep saying listener comments, and we'll round out with that. All right, let's jump into these listener comments. So, in no particular order because we're just bad at this stuff. Let's just basically jump right in. We got a decent number of comments this week, but a lot of schizophrenic ones, so we'll just kind of work with what we got here. Tim R. writes in and says, YouTube doesn't like my thumbs up, evidently. It says 0, so now you know you're not a celebrity. YouTube is keeping you down. I don't think that's... I don't know what happens with YouTube, but one thing I've noticed is it will not show views and thumbs up and all these things accurately until a video gets either pretty popular or until it's been around for a while. I don't know. It just takes YouTube a while. I don't think it's necessarily... I jokingly said, oh, that's censorship. I don't know why YouTube does that, but if a video uploads, it doesn't count views correctly or thumbs up or anything like that for a while. It's just a kind of a mess, and it makes up its own numbers for a while. Yeah, I really don't know what the reason for that is. YouTube just kind of is awesome, but sucks. Anyway, you continue on. You say, you replied to my last week's comment about celebrity video games when you jokingly said Tom Hanks, the video game, made me think that they could have 100% made a Castaway Island survival game. They could have even let you design and name your own imaginary companion once you reach the I've lost my mind phase of the game. And then Sam Frito responded to that and said that I love a you fucking dick game feature, Jack Black. Don't ask me what my idea for gameplay is. Imagine a loading screen that never takes you into the game with Tenacious D music. See what you did there, Tim R. And then lastly, you said pasta salad is food for what is to food what Pueblo is to Colorado. So I'm from the East Coast. I don't know what the fuck that means. I've never been to Pueblo, Colorado, and I don't know why it's not loved, or at least by you. But anyway, thank you for writing in, Tim R. I don't know, dude. I think the funny thing about a Tom Hanks game where it's based on Castaway, and then you get to design and name your own imaginary companion like Wilson. I think what would make that even better would be if it's like when Wilson gets created, that the game then transitions into a character creator, and then you get to kind of create your own Wilson, and you can, just like Dragon Age Veilguard, be like, oh, this coconut with eyes drawn on it is trans, and this one has blue hair, and this one is non-binary, just so then we can see all the fucking, like, the, you know, all the usual suspects pop out of the woodworks and be like, they made the Castaway game woke. And it's like, yeah, fucking see you, bitch. I got a fucking trans coconut. There's nothing you can do about it. And it'll be fun. And then the internet would explode over it because no one ever cares about things that actually matter. Anyway, let's get into Sam Frito, speaking of the devil. He says, Jesse, sorry to hear about your little kitty. He had some caring parents for a short while. Hope he's doing okay. I appreciate that, man. He's doing great. Yeah, we follow him on social media. He's living in a new place. He got adopted by a Disney cast member that plays one of the prominent characters in the parks, and he's doing good. So we're following him on Instagram, being all kitty like and stuff, and he's grown a lot in very not many times. Anyway, you said, you know, I love the Xbox Series S. It's like Genie from Aladdin. Powerful, lots of wishes granted, but takes up such a tiny spot. Here's my question. Oh, that's very apt. You said, here's my question. Would you like to see Xbox take a similar approach next gen? Thanks for a great show. Last of Us coaster screams Fun Spot Kissimmee. Dude, oh my god, if there was a Last of Us coaster, Fun Spot Kissimmee would be the place for it, because everyone would die once they go on it because it is dangerous and it's creepy. I've been on the roller coaster at Fun Spot Kissimmee. It's called Mind Blower. It is a wooden roller coaster that has inversions, and that coaster was terrifying, not because the ride itself was terrifying, but because when I went on it, when I paid my fucking $12 to ride it one time, I was like fairly certain my lap bar was not properly secured in place, or my restraint was not securely locked into place. And the employee manning the roller coaster, the one employee operating the entirety of the roller coaster, did not come by my row to check to see if our restraints were locked into place. So that was just so fucking awesome. I remember riding that with my buddy and being like, hey, we're gonna die now because we're at Fun Spot USA riding a wooden roller coaster that goes upside down. But yes, The Last of Us would be, for those who don't know, Fun Spot is a local amusement attraction, if you can even call it that, in the Florida area. I actually like Fun Spot a lot. I like the Orlando one's way better than the Kissimmee one, but I like Fun Spot Orlando. But anyway, it is it's like this shitty, cheap, free admission, but you got to pay to ride kind of little theme park here in Florida. We got a couple of them, and they got like a roller coaster or two. They got a bunch of go-kart tracks and arcade games, and it's like kind of where you go if you want to get like shot and get diabetes all at the same time at one little theme park. But it's fun. I've enjoyed the few times I've been to them. But yes, I love that. Xbox. So Disney goes into business with like Sega. Universal goes into business with Nintendo. Legoland gets fucking Xbox with Minecraft, and then PlayStation goes to Fun Spot and gets the Last of Us roller coaster, where the scary thing is that your kid will die if you let them ride the ride. I love that. So it's so wholesome. What did you say? Here's my question. What would you like to see? Oh, would you like to see Xbox take a similar approach next generation? Yeah, I would. If there's one, so it's very funny because I got an Xbox Series S about 2 years into the console generation in 2022. And the funny thing is, I use my Series S more than my X because I keep the X in the living room because, it's got the DVD player. It's the top of line one. It's the one you want to show off and have in the main room. But I play video games predominantly in our loft, which is we basically just utilize. I love it because when we bought the house, we were like, the loft is going to be like a cozy reading room. We're gonna have like nautical theming. We're gonna paint it like a cozy green color, and we're gonna have bookshelves and a couch, and we're just gonna read and drink coffee and be cozy in there. It's a no tech room. And then within 6 months of us moving into this house, I put a second TV up there and was like, this is like the Xbox room for when the other Xbox room's in use. And it's basically just become a secondary living room for me to play more Xbox. But I prefer playing games up there. And so I just play the Series S more often. And my girlfriend always says, why don't you just switch them? Why don't you just put the Series S in the living room and put the Series X in the loft? I'm like, because honestly, I don't care enough to go through that level of effort. Like the idea of unplugging the boxes and switching them and moving one upstairs and one down, that sounds horrible. It sounds like a miserable time. It sounds like a chore. So I'm more than happy to just keep playing the Xbox Series S. There's also something kind of cool about it because I've always been a black Xbox fan. I've always, the Xbox Elite with the 360, and then of course the Xbox One was black until the One S came out. And so I've always liked the sleek black Xbox look, and I've never really had a white Xbox. So having a Series S, I'm like, oh, it's just kind of cool. Like the controllers, why it just feels different. It feels like a different Xbox. So in a way, there's something about Xbox Series S that feels more next gen to me because I'm so used to holding a black Xbox controller that when I hold a white Xbox controller, I'm just like, ooh, different. Different equals new. And not only that, but my Xbox Series S controller is just less worn out than my Series X controller, so it just feels nicer to play. I don't know, but I use it way more often. Here's the thing. I don't notice the performance gaps. I don't notice it being slower or worse. The only thing I will say about the Series X that I like objectively more than the Series S, the only thing that's ever inconvenienced me or bothered me or I've noticed or I love this about this one, but I hate it about this one. The Xbox Series X has more storage, and I hate how the Xbox Series S has a small storage capacity. That's really it. 99% of people can get the cheaper, smaller one, and it just makes sense. And I think that's what a lot of people have realized with these current Xbox consoles on the market. And so, yeah, I think Xbox should continue to offer a low barrier to entry, relatively affordable option. But I really want that handheld as well. So I think the solution is going to be in the handheld and then the powerful box. Although what would make sense, I think what would probably make sense is to have, because the thing is, the more and more Xbox moves away from hardware being the priority, like proprietary consoles, the more and more I'm like, have a middle of the road console. It's not the most powerful thing, but not the cheapest thing, and is relatively affordable, and then have the handheld device. And I just feel like, something in between like a Series S and a Series X is kind of like where they should focus their energy on. Because the one thing that doesn't make sense for them is continuing this avenue of the most powerful console ever made, because that's not working. It wasn't working for them, and it's not moving the needle. So stop R&Ding, stop putting out this expensive ass machine that isn't, unless the profit margin on something like a Series X is just so much higher than a Series S, maybe that makes sense for them in a way. But I personally, I don't care which way they go. I could take or leave them being the most powerful option on the market. But the Series S is more than sufficient in my opinion. It's still fast and snappy, just like the Series X, and that's really the next gen feature for Xbox for me. Like the thing about this generation of Xbox that really cements my love for it is quick resume and how snappy and fast the console boots up, shuts down, navigates menus, hops in and out of games. Like that is what I care about. Everything else about the Series S and X is completely secondary, tertiary. Honestly, I was more than happy with my Xbox One. This is the thing, is I'm an Xbox fan, but I'm not a power user. I'm not like, oh, I gotta have the most powerful thing. It doesn't matter to me. I am one of those people who totally notices that listen, nice is nice, but there is a point of diminishing returns, and the only reason I buy expensive phones is because I like quirky phones that can bend and flip and fold. I don't really need a phone that it's the Snapgen X2 Generation 4 8 processor. It's okay, but it doesn't feel any faster than the one that cost 1/3 the price, So I'm very much buy the cheaper one, buy the middle of the road one. The top of the line model is usually a waste of your fucking money. And if there's anything that this generation of Xbox has taught me, it's that, yeah, I was always right for feeling that way, because Series S is great. as an Xbox fan, I'm also fucking stupid. I'll spend the extra $200 to get the top of the line one, the one that's big and blocky and has the disk drive. Sure. But do you need it? No, not at all. All right. Now that I've diverted from your question, just kind of said other shit, let's move on. Anthony Jerry writes in and says, hey, I have a funny scenario about Xbox hardware. Before we get into that, I want to revisit an earlier discussion about Microsoft being opportunistic. You argued against my point that they should have made their games multi-platform during the Xbox 360 era. I meant that back then they were at the top and chose not to. Now with the tables turns, they're forced to. Satya Nadella has been in a position of power since the Xbox 360 era. So if he wanted to make games multi-platform, he could have. Well, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't know what his position was in 2007, 2006, 2005, but I don't know that's true that he had that power. Anyway, that's what I call Microsoft being opportunistic. But let's agree to disagree. But you said I argued against your point that they should have made their games multi-platform during the 360 era. I don't know that I don't remember arguing against it. I'm not saying I didn't. I just don't remember anything after I podcast because I have short-term memory and I'm an idiot. But the reason it sounds like I did probably make that argument because I agree with it now. Yeah, the reason Xbox didn't make their games multi-platform is because that was how the video game market worked. They entered into the market and played the game and tried to innovate where they could. The idea of going multi-platform now is because all of their attempts to shake the game and change it and rewrite the rules have failed miserably. And so they're kind of at their wits' end and now forced in a position where they have to put their games on other platforms. The reason they chose not to when they were on top is because they didn't have to. They were on top. Now they're not on top and they can't get on top and they haven't been on top for a long time. No pun intended. And it's like, what? Yeah, well, of course they should capitulate. So yeah, I mean, you could call it opportunistic. I don't feel like it's opportunistic. I feel like it's, I mean, maybe this is a semantics argument, but I feel like the more apt thing to say would be not that it's opportunistic, but that it's just them adapting to the market and adapting to the reality of where they play into this market and what they have to do to survive and to stay relevant. I mean, Xbox is not, I feel like people just conflate these things all the time. Xbox is not a super vibrant, healthy brand. It can be allowed to be that way or perceived that way because it is funded by Microsoft, but Xbox is only as big as it is because it's funded by an entity that can allow it to be that way. PlayStation is as big as it is because it is as big as it is. Because Sony, a company that cannot afford to fabricate into bullshit and to let that brand just linger and persist, has built it into something that is profitable, something that is calculated, something that is exact, and something that is, an effective product in the market. And so just to be clear, these are two totally different things. Xbox is kind of a fucking mess, but Xbox can be a fucking mess because it's got Microsoft there to back it up. But anyway, let's move on. You said, now for the funny scenario. Imagine if Xbox went full PC and only made consoles for hardcore users. They'd produce a limited number of consoles, leaving casual gamers and those without extensive backlogs out in the cold. It would be hilarious to see the disappointment and jealousy. Let me know what you think. I think that's exactly the opposite direction they need to go. And I think Xbox has already abandoned the power user. Xbox has already abandoned the hardcore gamer by making it very clear that they want to lower the barrier of entry as much as humanly possible. And they want to try and capture as many different markets and audiences as they can possibly get their grubby hands on. So I think that's an impossibility at this point. You can't turn back at this point. But yeah, that would be I guess it'd be funny, but it would be a death wish to try and cater to the smallest market. Listen, I know that there's more money to be extracted out of the hardcore audience, but they're not doing well enough based on just the hardcore audience to justify sticking around the capacity that they exist. And so in order to continue to do what they want to do, they need to grow. In order to grow, they need to look outside their base. And that's why we're in the situation we're in. That and because investors are fucking greedy assholes and their job is to throw money into a company and say, now grow it, make it bigger, because you're so rich that you can be a lazy piece of shit and say, I'm going to take my money, do absolutely nothing with it, but give it to you. And then I'm going to force you to make it grow. And if you don't, I'll be very mad because I don't want to work. I want you to work and make me more money. And that is this country in a nutshell. So fuck me. Anyway, William Fontanez writes in and says, when you responded to Kyle's comments, you made me laugh. Why did you assume he was black? What the fuck? You were so careful at first not to get canceled, saying, I'm not trying to sound ignorant or racist. Then you said rapper's name and made by an indie developer, which had me laughing hysterically. If I were black, I'd be offended. I just looked up 50 Cent Blood in the Sand game and found out it was developed by THQ. THQ probably published it. I don't know that they developed it. Not some indie studio. LMAO. I'm pretty sure Kyle's one of us. What do you mean one of us? He didn't mention anything about fried chicken or basketball. Whoa, what the fuck, William? Okay, let's back up. Let's back up a little bit. When did you assume he was black? I don't know what you're talking about. I literally don't know what comment. I could scroll back to last week. I don't care. But, okay. William, I'm just going to give you some unsolicited advice here. Watch yourself. I don't know. I don't like when people talk about themselves as like a group of people, like belonging in a group based on their race. I don't know. I see everyone do that. I know it's like especially taboo if white people do it, but I see all people of all racial backgrounds do it. I don't like that. I don't like self-identifying based on your race. It's a really weird. It's like, I don't know. It's like if I self-identified with everyone that drove Hondas. It's like, one of our people. It's like, okay, that's a really weird way to identify yourself. But anyway, I gotta take you to task on this last part here, man. Sounds a little offensive the way you're talking. Don't just think about what you're gonna say and be like, is that really how I want to represent myself there? I know you got the fucking no profile picture and like the random name, but like, eh. Also, how the fuck do you know I'm white? I probably said white. I probably said chubby little fat white boy, haven't I? Anyway, doesn't matter. I will say though, there's one thing you mentioned here, the super unsavory part at the end of your comment. We have to mention it because I gotta say, man, this is one of the most egregious things to me. It needs to be addressed. And I'm sure there's some stand-up comic or someone in the past who's done it to better effect than what I'm about to say. But I'm really not saying this to be funny. I'm saying this out of a place of sincerity. There is no racial stereotype that befuddles me more than the stereotype about black people loving fried chicken and watermelon or whatever. What is it you said here? Yeah. Fried chicken and basketball. Okay. I don't understand this because it's like, okay, you can point to any one of like the really lame like racial stereotypes. So it's like, it's funny, but it's like no one's, I'm not going to laugh when the 8.6 trillion person to come into my life makes some like, Asian people love you long time. It's like, okay, it's never been funny. It's never going to be funny. Whatever. I can like look the other way and be like, have your fun when people do the whole like, oh, white people, chicken with no salt. They don't season their food. They don't clean their meat. Ha ha ha. Whatever. I can look the other way and be like, whatever, have your fun. I don't think that joke is funny. I don't think regurgitating the same thing society says ad nauseum is funny. It's not creative. But the one I really can't get behind is like the ones it's particularly like with black people with like fried chicken and stuff, where it's like, bro, what the? Here's the thing, man. Think about just being an American for a second. Think about like just the most American foods you can think of. I mean, obviously it's we have an expansive lineup of foods, right? But you think about meatloaf, cheeseburgers, New York pizza, whatever. American culinary is really just like an amalgamation of taking all the foods of the world and like kind of putting our own twists of them and doing Americanized versions and kind of just embracing all the culinary of all the world. But, American fine dining, seafood, steak, mashed potatoes, all these things, very European influenced things, French cooking techniques, Italian foods become very American in a lot of ways. So you think about all of it. Dude, when I think of American food, top five foods, fried chicken's on there. So when I hear like the black people, like the fried chicken stuff, it's like, I don't understand how it's a stereotype for black people to like fried chicken when it's like, have you ever met a single fucking person in your life who doesn't love fried chicken? What the dude, that makes no sense. That might as well just be like, well, black people, they love pizza. It's like, yeah, who doesn't love fucking pizza? I really like that one in particular. I never understood it. Maybe it's because I've always been very partial to chicken. Like I'm the kind of person where like if I go to a fast food restaurant, even if it's a burger restaurant, I am more inclined to order the chicken sandwich than I am the burger 9 times out of 10, because I just prefer, unless we're talking about like going to a nice steakhouse and having a good steak, I just prefer like poultry and fish to like red meat generally. But But damn, dude, like I really don't understand that one. And it's like the other one is like the watermelon thing. It's like water again. You look at like the whole spectrum of fruit. It's like watermelon's like a top 5 fruit. Who the fuck doesn't like watermelon? How the fuck can you be American and be like, oh yeah, watermelon, I'm not that into it. When it comes to fruit, I'm more into papaya. It's like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Fried chicken, I don't love fried chicken. I prefer bratwurst. It's like, are you fucking R-word? Are you a Nazi? Is that why you like bratwurst? Because you want to take a bunch of Jewish people and put them in an internment camp? Is that the kind of person you are right now? Who the fuck doesn't love fried chicken thighs? Who doesn't love chicken wings? Who doesn't love fucking breaded crispy ass fried chicken breast? Are you again the R word? Like it's kind of the best food in the world in a way, kind of almost top 5 for sure. And fried chicken is so versatile. You can do it with so much shit. I don't know. I'm not trying to and this isn't like my way of being like, look at me, I'm not racist. Like that's not what I'm trying to say. This is really more of a what I've been eating kind of argument more than anything. It's like, how the fuck are we gonna equate like that food with like that with like a race? It's like, who the fuck? I don't know, man. Maybe it's because I'm from the South and it's like fried chicken is a thing, but I also kind of hate that sentiment as well. When people are like, oh, you're from the South, you must really know fried chicken. It's like, no, because if you live in the United States of America, you know that food is so fucking globalized that you can live in California and have the best Philly cheesesteak of your life. You can live in Minnesota and have the best New York slice of pizza you've ever had. You can live in Montana and have the best fucking Creole pasta you've ever had in your life. Because I also kind of hate this sentiment that's like, oh, I'm from the South, so I know. So, oh, I'm from New York, so I know bagels. It's like you tell me everyone in New York has great taste in food, and there's no one with shit taste in food. What if you're me and the one New Yorker who can't tell fucking Maggiano's from Giovanni's? And if you're from New York, you know what I'm talking about, because Giovanni and Sal, they got a beef with Maggiano, and they got to fucking take him out back and show him a you know what. So I don't know. I don't know. So many tangents, so many strings to pull from here. So it's fucking weird. The stereotypes about black people in like the food thing, really don't get that. What, like, think about the melon category. Back to the watermelon. Sorry, I'll drop this, but it's like it blows my mind. It's like, think about melons for a second. What's like the stereotypes like black people love watermelon. It's like, yeah, what else you gonna love? Cantaloupe? Honeydew? Are you a fucking idiot? Like, again, are you the R word? Do I have to bring the R word into this? Yeah, it's like, who doesn't love watermelon? You fucking idiot. I don't know. Again, maybe it's because I'm from the South, but I don't think that has anything to do with it. It's just fried chicken. You know what they say about white people? They really love cheeseburgers with no onions on them. Anyway, I don't know. I just always found that one in particular to be weird. It's like, I understand where all the stereotypes come from and shit, but it's like, that one's always been a head scratcher to me. It's like, what the fucking fried chicken, buddy? You tell me you've never had Publix fried chicken? Oh my God. Oh, it's so good. All right. And you know what's really good? Fried chicken with ranch. That's one I didn't take until later in life. And I'm not talking about like a fried chicken sandwich with ranch dressing. Of course. Like, I'm talking about like boned in fried chicken, just dip it in ranch. Don't use honey mustard or barbecue or hot honey, which is super trendy these days. Like, I'm just talking about fucking ranch dressing for your fried chicken. It's so good, man. All right, William Fontanez. I don't know what the fuck any of that comment was in reference to. I'm sure it was a callback from something from last week, but I don't remember last week being so racist. So I'm gonna fucking say, thanks for writing in. Please think twice about what you're writing in before you write in next time. But have a great week, and God damn it. Anyway, and as for basketball, I can't speak to that. I have so little interest and focus on basketball. No offense to basketball, I just don't care about it. All right, Mike Clark writes in with his big fucking schlong and says, Xbox On Podcast, thank you for turning the 5-star only. Thank you for turning it into a 5-star only podcast. See, that's the thing I never understood, Mike Clark, is why do so many podcasts have like 3.5 stars, 4.2 stars? It's like, if you just tell your people you're not allowed to post a review that's less than 5 stars, you don't have to worry about having fewer than 5 stars. People are very stupid. They overcomplicate things. But anyway, you said, Jesse, the Chronicles of My Avatar are an odyssey worthy... What the fuck? Are an odyssey worthy of a marathon storytelling session. But let's bookmark that adventure for a day when the clock's feeling generous. To quench your inquisitiveness, the dapper depiction spring from the ingenious Sorry. The dapper depiction springs from an ingenious crew at Hudson Soft, conjured up during the golden days of the PC Engine TurboGrafx 16 epoch, all to champion the illustrious side-scrolling Air Zonk, a champion in my book of side-scrolling blasters. The recent campaign declaration, a myriad of devices as Xboxes, have sparked a wave of bewilderment, and many scratching their heads over the rationale of labeling a non-traditional gaming gadget as Xboxes. It's quite a daring move, straight out of Cotton's playbook. Time will tell if it's a stroke of genius or comedic misstep. For someone who's been an Xbox loyalist up to the Xbox One X, the prospect of all of my Xbox games expanding to PC is nothing short of exhilarating. It's akin to discovering your cherished comic book champion is about to become your next door neighbor. Oh yeah, Spider-Man lives right next door to me, dude. I realize we're talking about multiple topics, and I'm not stopping in between them. We're just going because you wrote all eloquently, and I got to read the flowery stuff. Marking my calendar for a Florida adventure when the Donkey Kong ride barrels into Universal, like it. But with Xbox's knack for launching video games that actually work, should they really take the helm of amusement rides? I can just envision Phil Spencer's We're Sorry World Tour already. I don't feel like Xbox deserves that reputation about launching broken games, but that Donkey Kong ride looks fucking awesome, so I'm with you there. In our last thrilling episode, you inquired about the divine reasoning behind life's tribulations, to which I responded with scripture. And to address your follow-up question, that's right, you did last week. Indeed, those scriptures were authentic. So those Bible verses were real. That's fucking awesome. And as for the notion of superiority, perish the thought. My intentions are purely in the spirit of assistance. Listen, the average Xbox On listener, including the host, are at about a third grade reading level. So I'm gonna have you tone it down here, Mr. Mike Clark, Mr. Mike Cock. I might as well call you because you got a fucking big cock coming in here talking like this, mama free. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Fantastic performance as usual, Jesse. Much appreciated. Wishing you all a joyous Thanksgiving. May we all pause to count our blessings, like the warmth of family, the strength of the community, and the bounty that Mother Earth bestows. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone, guys. That would be such a great comment to wrap up with, but I think we still have a few more, actually. But yes, thank you indeed for writing in. Thank you for your thoughts and for outwriting us all. Sam Frito is the only one who could even compete with a comment written as beautifully as that. Honestly, I think it should go into the history books. It brought me to tears. Cronky writes in next, and a couple of you guys are giving him thumbs up here, so stop sparking his ego here. Oh, oops, I almost gave him a thumbs up too. He says, I've been playing the Warcraft remasters nonstop. My marriage is crumbling, and all I can hear is, our town is under attack. Seriously, though, I figured out why Warcraft remasters were made. Blizzard's testing out AI tools. The remasters were done with AI art. Unethical as hell, but geez, does Warcraft 2 look beautiful? Well, I'm glad you're enjoying them. I actually want to play that as well, but yeah, that is disappointing to hear. I don't know. There's just something about like the second it's like AI art was used. It's like, now I have no respect for it. It's not that it's not cool or it's not helpful in some way. I don't really know how I feel on this whole debate on AI art. I love many minds, but it definitely makes me lose interest and respect when I hear that, even if it's unwarranted. I don't know that it is. But you also said Halo would have been so good at Universal. That's the only theme park that could do it, though. Disney's too Star Wars for anything fun. I think that is the best. That is the best way to review Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Disney is too Star Wars for anything fun. 2 stars. That's like it in a nutshell. Although Rise of the Resistance is such a fucking good ride. That ride is so good, but the land is boring. The Millennium Falcon ride is boring. The land kind of sucks, honestly. It's a huge disappointment. It's very detailed and immersive, but boring at the same time. It's very not fun to be in. But Rise of Resistance is awesome, so it's all worth it, right? Sam Frito responded to you because he's responding to everyone. He's got so many things to say. He's got so many Fritos in his brain. He says, I think Disney likes to wait 5 to 10 years until they can ruin something you lost interest in, so they don't have a class action suits with ding-dong 24-year-old lawyers. Universal will come out of nowhere with an attraction no one will have given a shit about. Only Jimmy Fallon wanted a Jimmy Fallon ride because Kevin Hart couldn't get high enough score on Men in Black to get approval from Will Smith. Wait, reverse all of that. Will Smith disapproves Black in Men, so Kevin Hart scores on Jimmy Fallon to Smith will. Makes sense now. You're just writing backwards. It's so stupid. It's making me uncomfortable how theme park coherent this podcast is coming across, and I realize it's just because I live in the greater Orlando area and love theme parks. And Sam Frito, I believe you live somewhere in Central Florida and enjoy the theme parks as well. So this podcast is slowly teetering on a racist theme park or Orlando-centric theme park loving podcast. And you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way. Okay. God. And I'm sorry to everyone who's like writing in with genuine questions, and I'm just too fucking stupid to think straight and make anything meaningful out of these comments. But I think we're down to the last 2 or 3 write-ins. Doxin Daddy writes in, welcome back, Doxin Daddy. And he says, I cried myself to sleep last night because none of the Sonic games I want are on sale on Xbox or on Steam. I'm thankful for this podcast, though. Have a happy Thanksgiving, my little turkey boy. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. What Sonic game do you want that is not on Xbox or Steam? Is it Sonic Dark Brotherhood for Nintendo DS, the BioWare developed RPG Sonic game? Is that what you're looking for? Because I understand. Blackened Chandler writes in and says, I don't know is this a first time write-in? Are you new, Blackened Chandler? Yeah, this is your first time commenting. Okay, welcome to Xbox On. Let's read your comment. We're 4 years into this generation. After spending some time with these consoles, I got a rant. 2 weeks ago, I tried to play NCAA College Football 25, but I kept getting an error. Turns out there was an outage. I just turned off my console and went to sleep, frustrated that I couldn't play a game I already own. Very reasonable. Why does gaming this generation and even the 8th generation feel so temporary? I worry that one day, 20 years from now, I won't be able to turn on my Series X because it's bricked. Why are there so many server outages, install updates, and day one patches? My 360 is only console with longevity in my eyes. I could play the games I bought on that gen, but if the Xbox servers are down, not because of anything on my part, but it's not on Microsoft's end. I can't play my own games that have to wait for the servers to go back up. That's some BS. If the 360 were a person, it deserves a handy under the table for its love and commitment. Well, Black and Chandler, thank you for writing in, and what a great comment. What a great way to start off your commenting career here on Xbox On Podcast, because you're fucking nailing it. But anyway, yeah, man, I totally understand. I think some of what you touched on in the end there is so poignant, because I think a lot of what people feel is it's kind of the whole thing about like, well, why do you care about, what happens in 20, 30 years ago and preserving that? Because even though you own your physical Xbox OG games, your physical OG Xbox, it's like one day that console is going to be so old and beaten down that it's going to deteriorate and that nothing's going to work on it. The optical drive will just fail, and the discs will scratch and fade and get old and shit, and things just won't work. Even if it's not online and Xbox doesn't shut it down and all these things, it's like the stuff will just work. It will stop working. The hardware will fail. It's like, even though that is true with a lot of things, it's like, I think people just want to have a sense of the reason why something becomes inaccessible is because the thing just got old or broke, or factors that are within my control cause that to be so. My old Xbox is in storage. I don't know where it is. It broke. I lost the game. People are comfortable. They find comfort in those very tangible, very like personally controllable kind of scenarios, even though they result in ostensibly the same thing, as opposed to what we see a lot of now, which is like, this game that I was never going to play again, that I haven't played for 10 years, EA just shut down the servers. How fucking dare they? Is anything permanent anymore? I can't play any game. Or like, this game completely failed, so after 2 years, they shut the game down and no one can play it anymore. Anthem's basically just not even a thing anymore. Or like, this game got updated and they took the multiplayer offline, and now you can only kind of play this one mode, but you don't really understand the game because you don't have access to this anymore. And I understand these concerns, these qualms, and these like, oh, I can't play this game that isn't really online because it has to be connected to online in order for me to be able to play it, even though I already downloaded and purchased the game. I totally understand all these concerns, and I think they're completely valid, but it is a weird arbitrary line in the sand we draw. And it's just this weird thing where people want, I feel like this comfort of ownership and like the situations in your hand. It's like the reason why people buy cars. It's like you could rent or lease or whatever, but people insist on purchasing vehicles, because at the end of the day, even though purchasing means you're on the hook for the maintenance, you're on the hook for, the depreciation, you're not going to be able to really get shit for it in 10 years when everything's broken in the car and it's only worth $700. It's like, people just want that comfort of like, yeah, everything's going to be fucked and I'm going to lose money on this deal, but it's mine and I own it and I'm in control of it. And I say when the car goes and I say when, we throw in the towel. And I think people just want that sense of ownership and control over the situation. And that is like the real crux of what's happening more than anything, because I don't blame you. I understand where the frustration comes from, especially that kind of shit where it's like you're playing a game that is not online. You're not going online to match against other players. You're going to play career mode, but the game cannot connect to the Xbox network servers and therefore it won't let you play. And it's just basically a bricked experience because Xbox is experiencing some outages. I mean, the simple truth of the matter is everything is just more connected and more online and more updatable and tinkerable than ever before. Like, developers never put a game out and just say, that's the game. They just keep updating, keep adjusting, connected to the server so they can get data. And a huge part of that is data, really. Like, the reason so many not online games are online is because they want to collect your telemetry. They want to see how you're playing the game, how you're interacting, how far you get into the game, what parts of the game make you quit and give up, what parts of the game do you stick around and have longer play sessions during. And they want to be able to study that player data and feedback, and they want to collect all that because that data is so fucking valuable. And that's a huge reason for why everything is online all the time, and everything's always online, because in case this is broken, this is an error, we can just update it, we can just fix it, we can just patch it. And everything has this intention of, we'll sell you microtransactions, we'll sell you battle passes, we'll update it, we'll have DLC, we'll fix it, we'll nerf this weapon, we'll make that, we'll buff that weapon, whatever the case may be. And there's something so comforting about that Xbox 360 generation, because it was like the beginning, it was like the nascent era of like, we could update a game years after it came out. We could have this game be online all the time. We could have this game evolve with new content down the road. But it was such an innocent and immature time for those kinds of ideas. It was so novel, it was so beginner-ish that that like it never happened like that. It was like, it's like, sure, this game got DLC, but the game never got taken offline. Or sure, this game was playable online, but they only shut off the multiplayer servers and it never affected the single player portion. And even though the console was connected to the internet, they only updated it when they absolutely needed to, when there was like a big dashboard update. It wasn't like we updated every other day and you don't notice 99% of what we're doing behind the scenes, but just trust us, we got to update this. We need another 12 gigabytes, please and thank you. So I totally get it. Just things are more connected, player data, tinkering, all the things. In a world where the narrative is changing all the time, a game can launch and be a piece of shit, and then in 6 months that would be the biggest game in the world, or completely vice versa. Developers and publishers, and with the rising costs of game development, want to have total control and total hands-on of everything at all times, so they can react and adjust and make changes where necessary at any given time. Because if not, if they're not recording your data and they don't have you online all the time so they can see what's working, what's not, what needs to be fixed and update, what needs to be improved on in a sequel or in DLC, if they don't know all those things, then, they're one YouTube video away from the whole internet getting mob mentality and dogmatically deciding that game sucks because this YouTuber told me to believe that. And it's just, that's the world we live in now, man. It's just, these games are too costly to play that loose and fast. But anyway, there's me over-explaining what I think about your question, but I agree with you that it sucks. It's the worst of both worlds, but I think that's just the explanation I have. I'm not going to read that question because that's fucking weird. I think that's it. No, we got one more. Daniel Winky. I have not read this, I don't think. Oh, wait, I have. This is a follow-up from last week. Daniel says, I'm not convinced that the PlayStation button layout is better than the Xbox. I think RT, or right trigger, is more intuitive than R2. I know exactly what RT means, but R2 is a bit more abstract. Well, think about it like this. R1 is on the left, R2 is on the right. You read left to right. So R on the left, R on the right. 1, 2. It's kind of like left trigger, right trigger. R1, R2. Or L1, L2. So left to right. 1, 2, 1, 2. I don't know. There's something that's a bad example, or that's a bad explanation, but there's something, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I grew up on PlayStation, but there's something spatial about that makes sense to me. Even I don't see it as abstract. I don't know. But this is a preferential thing. I don't know why we're going back and forth on this. It's whatever controller scheme you grew up with is probably just naturally the one that makes the most sense to you, and I don't really know how else to argue that. But you did say I'll stick to PlayStation exclusive games and avoid multi-platform tiles. As for Nintendo, I don't find the button layout confusing, especially on the Switch, which is designed for handheld play. Consoles are more complex and have a bit more of a learning curve, which is understandable. Yeah, man, I don't know. Personally, I just find Nintendo's control layout to be confusing as hell because it's like a mirror of Xbox. But at the end of the day, I mean, they're all more or less the same shit. Just different names for the same buttons, really. But thank you for writing in. I appreciate it. Appreciate your time, and I appreciate all you guys listening. You guys be well, be good, have a good weekend. Hopefully you all get some time off with the holiday. Happy Thanksgiving to each and every one of you. And listen, let me just say it. You know what would be better than turkey on the Thanksgiving table? Because let's be honest, turkey, a little overrated. Chicken. My first Thanksgiving I did when I moved to Florida, me and my girlfriend, the first we were like, you know what's cheaper? Because we were looking at turkeys and we're like, they're huge. There's only 2 of us and they're expensive. And it's like, hey, let's do like a roasted chicken instead of a roasted turkey because chicken tastes better than turkey. So we got a chicken instead of a turkey that year, and we did like a Cajun rub on it. It was so fucking good. It was like the only traditional Thanksgiving we ever did because we did like stuffing and green bean casserole and mashed potatoes and everything. So we did like the traditional sides and everything, but with a Cajun roasted chicken instead of a proper turkey. And for just the 2 of us, still way more than enough food, and it was amazing. It was awesome. So maybe replace the turkey with some fried chicken or some Cajun chicken. Sounds pretty fucking good. Although we ever since our second Thanksgiving together, living together, we are firmly a steakhouse Thanksgiving family. So this year, past couple years, we've been doing a prime rib, but it is just too much meat for 2 people. So this year, we're going to do some strip steaks. I got some strip steaks from Publix the other day. Going to do that. We're going to do some asparagus, some Brussels sprouts, mashed potatoes, mac and cheese, and some fucking old fashions. It'll be good. It'll be yummy. I'm very much looking forward to it. So hope you all have a great Thanksgiving. Spend some time with your families, your kittens, your dogs, whatever the fuck it is. Watch some hockey. Relax. Enjoy Moana 2. I'm sure it's going to be good. Hopefully. I hope so. But yeah, until next week, guys, thank you for your time. Take care and power your dreams.